Signatory is one of my favorite independent bottlers. But what happens when they take a funky cask strength whiskey like Craigellachie and finish it in an even funkier fortified wine barrel? We're going to talk about it. Stick around for the video. Welcome back to the Fine Drim, everybody. My name's Gabe, and today we're going to be talking about one of Spaceside's most rebellious distilleries, that being Craigellachie. For those of you not familiar with Craigellachie, it is a Spaceside whiskey, like I said. Now, typically, Spaceside whiskey is associated with light and pretty and floral, so Craigellachie rebels against all of that. Craigellachie is known for having a dirtier, oily, somewhat industrial type vibe going on to it. Very similar to things like Campbelltown. It is that way for a few reasons. First off, they use worm tub condensers or traditional style condensers. There's less copper interaction, and that copper interaction is what takes out those kind of funky sulfites that are found in a lot of the whiskey. Not only that, but their fermentation time is a lot shorter. Basically, that allows the industrial lactic acid qualities to build up in a whiskey. So what does all that mean? Essentially, what I'm trying to say in nerd terms is that this whiskey is funky. We're going to dive into that, but first we're going to talk a little bit about Signatory and also what they finished this already funky whiskey in. Signatory is an independent bottler. You may also know them for owning a distillery called Edgeador, one of my favorites. This particular one is part of their cask strength collection. It has an age statement of 17 years old, and it has a first fill Madeira hogshead finish, coming in at 55.5% alcohol. Okay, so we got to talk about that before we dive into this. Madeira is also funky. Madeira is made on the Madeira Islands that are near Portugal. And if you've never had Madeira, it's very similar to port, but has a lot more tropical, pineapple, kind of burnt banana funk notes. It's really good, but it is funky. We have Craigellachie that is already a funky whiskey, and Signatory, instead of mellowing that out, decided, you know what, we're gonna double down. All right, so without being too much more of a nerd, let's dive into the nose right after the cork pop. You know what we gotta do. That was a good one. You gotta give me that. All right, let's dive into the nose. On the nose, this Craigellachie it's crazy. It's all over the place. What is going on? The words gentle and balanced already are not words I would use to describe this whiskey. You get a lot of those, again, rummy, tropical notes. It's sweet. There's like peach rings, but it's all wrapped in like this kind of burnt, grassy type feel. Industrial. It's oily, it's funky, it's earthy. Maybe some mango, a lot of mango actually. Some tahini, some chamoy, maybe. On the nose, it actually smells pretty good. Again, it is not gentle. There is a lot going on. Yeah, as it sits there, it gets more green. There's some more grassy notes coming out. Sweet, tropical, mango, grassiness, industrial, funky, maybe a little bit sulfuric, like a burnt match kind of thing you get with some sherry wood. But again, this is Madeira. Interesting. It's interesting. All right, let's move on to the palate. Cheers. Okay. Wow. And I don't know if that's a good wow or just like that's a lot. I will say this whiskey is very, very complex. Not so much balanced for me, but there is a lot going on. If you would describe some whiskeys as like an orchestra with everything coming in at the right time, it's all cohesive and it makes sense and it's nice. This is like a rock concert that has fireworks going on in the background. Electric guitar, 80s style music, headbanging. You know what I'm talking about. As soon as it hits the palate, I get a lot of roasted peanuts. Like, this is a very nutty whiskey, and that's very surprising to me. Those funky notes come through, the rum-like sweetness. What's the banana? It's not a banana. Plantains, like fried green plantains. Yeah, that's really coming through. Let's go on for another sip. There is a lot to unpack here. There is a lot of ethanol hit on this as well. It drinks all of 55.5% alcohol. I will tell you that right now. Roasted peanut, banana, chamoy, mango, but it's all funky. It's all very industrial is the best way I have to describe it. There is green plantains, some grassy notes. It's weird. It is a weird whiskey. If you don't like in your face industrial type heavy, somewhat sour, funky rum like notes, this is not going to be for you. I will say that roasted peanut note is very unexpected and it's very prevalent, so that's interesting. The finish is a little dry. I think that's where that Madeira comes through. Dry, grassy, again that kind of nutty note lays throughout, and I think a lot of that is from the Madeira. I love Madeira just on its own, but Madeira does have a lot of funky, tropical, nutty notes that I think are very heavy in this particular bottling. Let's talk about the whiskey and where I would put it on my tier system. This is a hard one for me. When I initially saw this come out, I bought it on site. I like Craigellachie a lot. I like Madeira a lot. I thought this was going to be a home run. This is not so much my jam. I think this is a great experiment in whiskey, and I think Signatory, in what they set out to do, did it very well. They doubled down on the funk, and it shows. So from a tasting experiment perspective, they killed it. But this is just so, it's so weird to me. And you know, to be fair, I'm about finished this bottle. I really have put this review off because I wanted to give it every chance I could to figure out how I felt about it. And ultimately, this is where I landed. If I had to put this, and I will put this, on my tier system, this would land in the C tier. That is where I'm going to put it. Why am I putting it there? Well, the price of this whiskey was around 87 pounds, which isn't too expensive, but it's not cheap either. I think this is a great experiment on what happens when you double down on the Craigellachie funk. It's just, it's too chaotic for me. There's a lot going on, but none of it seems to be mingling together. It almost feels like the Craigellachie style and the Madeira are fighting each other for who can outfunk who. I will tell you, this does have an impressive age statement. Madeira casks are also not cheap. This comes in at cask strength, it's natural color. This whiskey is very, very, very well presented, and it's made by Signatory, so I'm sure it's also made very well. So I wanted to say that because, again, this is not, I don't think, a poorly made whiskey or poor presentation whiskey. This, for me, just is not a hit. I'm not enjoying it as much as I wish I could be. So yeah, I hate to leave it on kind of a bummer, but well, they can't all be winners. All right, guys, well, that was the Craigellachie Signatory finished in Madeira cask, coming in at 17 years of age. Have you ever tried this before? Have you tried other Madeira cask finished whiskeys? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers.